Well, howdy. It's your boy here to read you another story that I have written because I like writing. So I have Awakening Cinder here. This book is a book that I wrote because of writer's block. When I was writing Origin, I went through and I wrote this, and it's not completely done, but I still want to read you chapter 1. I actually completed editing chapter 1 and chapter 2, re-editing it today, and I'm just going to keep on doing that. And I hope y'all like this book. Feel free to leave comments, because comments are cool, and I like responding and hearting and thumbsing up those things. They're cool. Anyway, this is Awakening Cinder, not an audible production. Part 1. The Awakening. Chapter 1. Pre-Dawn. "Stay close and watch each other's backs," Rajani Ara commanded, his voice steady despite the tension cooling through the group. "These beasts are ever cunning." As they advanced deeper into the cavern, the air grew colder, a chill that seeped into their very bones. The ground beneath them was uneven, strewn with the remnants of a previous wrath encounter. Ascender's heart pounded in his chest, each step dragging them closer to unknown horrors. A low growl reverberated through the stone walls, freezing the group mid-stride. From the shadows emerged the witch, its small, wrinkled form nearly blinding and blending into the darkness. Its eyes glowed with a simple, animal intelligence, like a guard dog trained for only one thing: attack. "Positions!" Rajani barked, snapping everyone into action. The spellcasters began chanting, their hands igniting with arcane light and fire, while the warriors formed a defensive line to draw the creature's wrath. The witch moved with terrifying grace, fluid and predatory, as it lunged toward the group. The battles erupted, arcs of fire streaking through the air, weapons clashing against the beast's conjured shield. Ascender dodged and weaved, staying out of the fray while searching for an opening to strike. Evander pressed forward, his powerful swings forcing the witch into the defensive. The beast was relentless, its eyes flashing as it tested the warrior's formation. Ascender watched in awe as Evander's movements were precise and controlled, each strike driving the witch back. Then, with a synchronized thrust, the channelers sent light-aspected magic soaring through the beast. A shrill shriek pierced the air. In retaliation, the witch's feral gaze swept through the room, seeking helpless prey. It locked onto Ascender. With a beastly satisfaction, it stretched one gnarled hand toward him. Evander saw it, but before he could react, Ascender slammed into an invisible barrier, his head snapping back, body going rigid. Black fire coalesced in the witch's outstretched palm. This would be its last move, and it knew it. The black fire launched. Ascender fought against the paralysis, forcing his body to shift just a few desperate feet. And the same heartbeat, two things happened. Evander, roaring with fury, leaped forward and swung his broadsword in a clean arc. The witch's head separated from its shoulders and flew across the chamber. On the other side of the room, black fire screamed toward Ascender. It struck him, dead center in the chest, right where his core pulsed with life. The world went dark. Ascender shifted through his memories, the black, endless void ever expanding until something solidified. A memory surfaced, pulling him back. He remembered. In a world of rift voyagers, camaraderie and familiarity were common. Those who worked in the same region knew each other well, their bonds forged in fires of countless rift raids. Every time a rift opened, the first to arrive would call out greetings, their voice carrying on the wind, a ritual that helped dispel the inherent fear of what awaited them within. For most, it was comforting. For Ascender Valtara, that sense of fellowship was a luxury he'd never experienced. The voices of the men came into focus, restoring what had been forgotten. Hey, Luke, over here! One Rift Voyager called out as another approached. Oh, John, it's been a while, Luke grinned, clapping the other man on the shoulder. Why haven't you quit? Never thought this was your type of industry. John responded with a weary chuckle. Turns out my kid has some sort of sickness, and you know how medical bills are these days. Ha! Well, as a Rift Voyager, there's nothing quite like that makes us quite as much as dough. Luke replied, his laughter booming across the field. John forced a smile, though his laugh came out as a strained and desperate-sounding thing. So, why hasn't the collective been reaching out to Rift Voyagers as often? Is there a shortage of rifts or something? His eyes darted around as the wind picked up, carrying away what little confidence remained in his voice. Luke took a thoughtful sip of the cocoa before responding. Nah, that would never happen. It's because freelancers are grinding out all the rifts before the collective can even get a chance. Freelancers live for the thrill of the hunt. When there's no money to be made, well, I guess we'll have a job. John's unease grew as he glanced around, the wind doing nothing to dispel his mounting worry. This raid, it should be safe, right? I mean, the collective arranged it, so it must be, right? The absence of guilds typically signified a significant payout. While it wasn't always the case, a guildless raid usually indicated a low-ranked rift. However, in the world of rift raids, there were no guarantees. Deception was a constant threat, and the uneasy murmurs along the unsimpled voyagers reflected a shared sense of apprehension. Well, Luke hesitated, clearly reluctant to jump in the mood. Then, spotting a familiar figure in the distance, he waved and called out, Hey, there he is! Ascender, over here! The other Rift Voyagers brightened at the sight of the approaching figure. Hello, everyone, Ascender Valtara greeted with a polite nod as he joined the group. The moment he was out of earshot, Luke turned to John with a knowing grin. Ascender Valtara is here. That means it's safe. John looked skeptical. Is he that strong? Luke chuckled. I guess you wouldn't know. He joined after you left. Everyone knows he's a bit of an oddball. He's unbound, or, as they say, has no mana signature. John raised an eyebrow. If he isn't that strong, why is he on this raid? Why is he even under the collective? He'd be better off as a freelancer or in some guild. Luke's grin faded, his tone shifting. There's some force at work with him. Despite being unbound, he can heal, and he's slightly stronger than the average non-Voyager. Want to know his nickname? John leaned in, intrigued. Stop beating around the bush, man. Just tell me. Luke smirked. The weakest Rift Voyager of humanity. John couldn't help but laugh. Wait, then why is everyone so friendly with him? Luke's expression turned serious. Any ascent in a rift with him is bound to be a walk in the park. Think about it. Do you really think the collective would want the headline, Ascender Valtara, deceased? It practically screams weak and unreliable. They'd only send him if, on safe runs or something. Last time he went into a shadowed crypt, an E-Tear rift, they hadn't thought to bring resonance. He was out for a week. John's laughter turned into incredulous disbelief. What? Really? Shut up, dude. Don't be an ass. He might hear you, Luke warned, casting a curious glance towards Ascender. Oh, my bad. I didn't think about that. Sorry, man, John replied sheepishly. Unbeknownst to them, Ascender remembered being fully aware of their conversation. I can hear your breathing. Of course I can hear your snickers and your jabs. Ascender thought within the vision, keeping his face impassive, a smile forced, concealing the pain that their words inflicted. Why? Why do they mock me? What have I even done to deserve this? But Ascender knew better than to dwell on it. In a world where strength was revered and weakness scorned, he was an easy target. Those honors were befitting his status as unbound. Of all times, he cursed his sharp hearing, most in moments like these. Have I arrived too early? He scanned the area for something to occupy himself, with his eyes landing on the nearby hot chocolate stand. May I have a cup, if you have any? He asked the vendor, his voice barely masking his wariness. Oh, Valtara. The vendor's expression turned apologetic. I'm sorry, I just ran out. Ascender's shoulders slumped slightly. Oh, I see. Sorry to trouble you. The wind from the south brought a chill, sending shivers down his spine. It was the kind of day where even a cup of hot chocolate would have felt like a disappointment. Just another weight added to the growing gloom that surrounded him. Ascender watched himself walk away empty-handed, making his way toward the rift gate. Come on, man! Why do you insist on being a Rift Voyager? Evander Fideris asked, his voice a blend of frustration and genuine concern. His hand, large and powerful, enough to crush the bones of a non-ascended human, landed heavily on Ascender's shoulder, a gesture meant to be reassuring, but painfully reminding him of the disparity between them. Even in this vision, Ascender's heart warmed at the feeling of someone caring about him, at least someone other than his family. Though, I guess he is family. The Ascender in the vision lowered his head, avoiding Evander's piercing gaze. I need money. I mean, everyone needs to eat, right? He said, his voice barely above a whisper, tinged with, well, what was it? Resignation that only those in dire straits could understand. Evander's grip tightened slightly on his shoulder, disapproval evident not only in his words, but in the very strength of his touch. I get that you need money, Ascender, but aren't there safer ways to earn it? Keep participating in these rift rages and injuries you've been able to walk away from so far will only get worse. I can't protect you forever. His voice softened. You're my friend. I've known you for a long time, man. I don't know what I'd do if you got hurt or, heaven forbid, something else happened. These rifts are only going to get more dangerous as time goes on. Ascender's eyes drifted over Evander's shoulder to where the team's sentinels were locked in fierce combat with the necrotic beasts. Grotesque creatures that roamed the cursed mausoleums, a seer rift, infamous for its deadly inhabitants. This raid was a virtual death sentence for any Rift Voyager without significant rank or power. Typically, resonants, those with the ability to specialize in one categorization of mana and channel it to aid their comrades, were the backbone of any successful party. Yet here, Ascender was an anomaly, famously prone to energy on every raid he'd ever participated in. Why can't you just pick up a normal job? Evander said, tentatively, his concern almost palpable. Ascender shook his head. Even in this vision, he couldn't delve into the details of his life. He wouldn't explain the desperate financial straits that left him with no viable alternatives, or the fact that he had 2 siblings depending on him. Instead, he offered a half-hearted excuse. This is my personal fulfillment. Evander snorted, shaking his head. Well, if you keep on filling yourself up with danger, you might just explode one day. His tone was lighthearted despite the seriousness of his words. The severity of the statement made Ascender laugh, brief, a hollow sound that echoed through the emptiness of their circumstances. As the teammates finished off the last of the necrotic beasts, leaving no foes for Ascender to face, he was left to reflect on his earlier battles. The day had been a series of grueling fights, each one a struggle for survival. He'd barely managed to defeat a hallowed servant, a minor entity compared to the horrors that roamed the deeper parts of the rifts. His comrades, with their superior abilities and mana manipulation, had dispatched the upper-tier beast with relative ease, leaving Ascender feeling more like a burden than a member of the team. At the market earlier that day, his meager haul had earned him a scant $200, a paltry sum considering the life-threatening risk he'd taken. It wasn't worth it, he thought bitterly. People said that if you returned with the Spirit Shard, a rare and valuable item found in the rifts like at the haunted necropolisks, you could earn it upwards of 200,000, sometimes even more depending on its rarity or condition. These shards were highly sought after for the ability to enhance Rift Voyager's power, a fact that only deepened Ascender's frustration. He lacked the ability to manipulate mana, a fundamental skill that allowed others to face the Rift's challenges with relative ease. Without it, he was at a constant disadvantage, always falling short of the power needed to take on higher-level threats. It was a cruel irony. He was trapped in a cycle of danger and inadequacy, driven by necessity, yet crippled by limitations. Up ahead, the scouts reported that they'd reached the boss's section. Given that this party had largely composed of Embers and Seekers, the second and third to last ranks on the 7-stage list, they shouldn't have had a problem facing off against the C-tier boss. Their considerable power and resilience spoke for itself. Ascender walked up to where everyone had gathered. Just as they said, this was the final entrance, keeping them from the Rift boss. Despite this, Ascender couldn't shake the feeling that the aura around this rest stop was wrong. Rajani Ara, the group's leader, called everyone to gather around. "The final monster stop is here," he announced. "After this, the rift will close, and we will be ejected into who knows where. According to our intel, this final boss should be a cursed witch. Her specialty is dark elemental magic. Nasty fire, so to speak. So, with that said, avoid its caster range of about 20 feet. Spellcasters, this will mainly be your duty. Cause as much damage as possible." "Hey, Ascender," Luke said. "Stay out of our way. You can't do anything. In fact, you could just stay here." "No," Rajani interjected sharply. "That goes against collective rules. He will come with us." He turned. "But Ascender, do not get in the party's ways." "Yes, sir," Ascender said with a nod. Even though Ascender knew this had already passed, he felt the sharp sting of rudeness all over again. If only for a second. Then his attention was drawn back to the leader. "Everyone, get in." As the team prepared for the final confrontation, Ascender felt like his own anticipation and anxiety were building. The cursed witch, known for her dark magic, posed a significant threat. The rift was silent, save for the occasional distant rumbling, The rift was silent, save for the occasional distant rumble, a reminder of the structure's instability. The atmosphere was tense, each member of the party lost in their thoughts, mentally preparing for the battle ahead. Ascender, despite his limitations, knew that he had a role to play. He tightened his grip on his weapon, mind racing through the strategies they discussed. He might not be as powerful as the others, but he was determined to contribute in any way he could. The thought of staying behind, of being left out, was unbearable. He had come this far. He was not about to let his team down. That was Chapter 1. A bit of an anticlimactic end, but trust me, chapter 2 is very climatic. So yeah, I don't think many of y'all probably made it all the way to what I'm talking about on speaking, but I hope you all are somewhat interested. Anyway, I wish you a good morning, good afternoon, and good night in case I don't see you, which I probably won't because this is a recording. Anyway, peace.